Hi, good evening. Welcome back to all the fans of Scoop. Today we are going to cover a very interesting subject, which is managing bed tenants. I went for a recent convention and everybody is excited. I hope there are many out there listening to this. If not, if anybody misses, pass the word around that you can always go to our podcast at YouTube and then you'll be able to look back to what we are going to discuss today. So this is episode number 8. We have started this year, and I believe more and more people are coming to know about this particular show. And for your information, this is the only live show that we have for real estate matters on a monthly basis. So once again, welcome. And we have got some viewers out here listening to us. So let's proceed with this. As I told you all many times before, this whole idea about having this scoop with Soma is because there are so many things happening in the market which we are not aware. And so we give you an opportunity to understand, update you with what's going on, what are the current issues on real estate, and also provide real estate updates and also be a voice on real estate matters. Probably in the months to come, we may be able to take on more difficult subjects. What are the things we need to do to enhance our professionalism? What are the things we need to do to bring about a good name as real estate agents in this country? So let me go ahead and update y'all on some matters. Recently, I read an article which I thought would be of interest to the audience, in that a widow who is a Indian national, she's an Indian national, regains land after a decade-long legal battle, meaning there was this particular land which belonged to a husband. The husband passed away, and this entire land was idle, and someone took the liberty to go and transfer the title and so on and so forth. And after so many years of battle, the Malaysian court decided that land should belong to that lady. And it's quite interesting because we have told you many times that the Malaysian land system, or the torrent system that we have, is one of the best in the world. Indefeasibly of title, when your name is registered into the title, it is very difficult for people to cheat, although people try to do so. And what is interesting about this case, which is we have concern to all the negotiators and REAs, is that when you do a power attorney, it is important that you need to register it in the High Court, and you need to deposit the document in the High Court. Only then it becomes a power. It gives the power for somebody to represent someone else. And what this particular gentleman did is he went and wrote an illegal power attorney and got it all done. And at the end of the day, it was not deposited in the High Court. And as such, it was then the court decided that it is not legal, although the registration was done many months later after the land was sold. So the story behind this is you can share with their clients that if their names are on the title, they have the right over the land, and it's very difficult for anyone to cheat or go and sell the land to someone else, even though the owners have passed away. Okay, so that's one. And then number two, we had our Marai convention. To all those who are in the real estate practice, Marai is one of the biggest real estate conventions in the country. We had around 450 delegates from Malaysia and also from Sabah Sarawak, including Myanmar, Indonesia, Singapore, and I think one or two other countries, I can't recall. And the Minister of Housing was there to open it. He gave a very inspiring speech to all of us, very relevant. He missed Parliament to be there, so I think he gave some importance to the real estate fraternity. And he said, he made a statement which I thought was interesting that I should share with you. He said, there are so many shop houses and buildings in the country where illegal partitioning is happening. And he told that there was one particular shop, I think if I'm not mistaken, there were nearly 90 rooms that was built, 90 over rooms that was built in a shop house. And that rooms, you can only crawl in and crawl out. and this was, I think, catering towards foreign workers. So he said, if that building were to catch fire, can you imagine how many people will die? And what was interesting about this point was that he said, we would like estate agents to work with Bomba, who is responsible for the safety of the building and to avoid fires. He said, report to Bomba as a whistleblower so that we can create a safety environment in this country. And I thought that was a fantastic remark. And I think we as agents have a role to play. So if you want to know more, you can call Ministry of Housing or you can call Bomba, how you want to go and blow the whistle so that the properties are all out of danger, okay? Now, I've got a very interesting news for all those who know about Arena. Arena is the ASEAN Real Estate Network Alliance. Many of you have been to Kuala Lumpur Convention, Cambodia Convention, and Myanmar Convention. Since 2020, we couldn't organize it because of COVID, and we were struggling to get a new host. And I'm very happy to announce that there is a very high probability that the next convention is going to be held in Bali, Indonesia. Arabi, which is a real estate association in Indonesia. They're going to host it. And in August, you can attend together with other delegates who are going to go. Generally, MIEA will give you a subsidy to go for this convention. So, but you must be a member of MIA. So quickly go and become a member if you want to go for this Bali convention. And you'll be able to meet at least 500 to 600 real estate people from all over the ASEAN countries. Arena consists of 9 real estate associations representing 9 countries in ASEAN. Okay. Now, a week ago, there was an interview over BFM. I was interviewed. Interesting subject, next level property agent on BFM. So if you want to listen to that podcast, there are a lot of good information. Please go to BFM, look for their podcast. It's there. You can listen to that interview, and especially all new negotiators, all those who are wanting to become a real estate sales personnel. Okay. All right, let's go to the main agenda for today, managing bad tenants. And I was wondering who should be doing this talk. So I've had an opportunity of knowing him. At the same time, he gave us a talk one day about bad tenants, how to manage them. And I thought his topic was interesting. So he's a very young man. His name is Jian N, and holds a Bachelor of Laws LLB with second class honors. So I have great pleasure now to call upon Jian N to come forward. Jen, there he is. Come.
Hi, nice meeting you.
Please, welcome. Jian N is correct pronunciation?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, let me just quickly, very quickly introduce him, because sometimes when you look at young people, they say got experience or not. That's what they'll ask you. And so he's got a list of qualifications and achievements. Holds a Bachelor of Laws, LLB, second class honors, first division from Queen's University Belfast, an MBA from the University of Wales, Trinity St. David, and a Master of Laws with distinction from the University of Law. And he was called to the Bar of England and Wales.
Yes.
In November 2021, and subsequently admitted as an advocate and solicitor of the High Court of Malaya in January 2023. So I have known a lot of lawyers, but I've never heard of so many honors that they're having. So good to have you with us. And then prior to legal practice, he served as a legal counsel in one of the Malaysia's largest real estate agencies. So he knows about what we do and handling disputes and complaints, as well as reviewing contracts for local and international developers. He's got significant experience. I was impressed with this, convincing a real estate transaction with one of the legal firms he was working with. During his tenure, he assisted in completion of 150 million ringgit land transaction involving 2015 individual titles. I don't know whether any estate agents would have got involved. Was an estate agent?
No.
No. Okay.
Purely developer.
Okay, so currently JNN is a partner of Mrs. YY Tan and Co. He focuses on conveyancing and international matrimonial matters. We're not going to touch that today anyway. And he also serves as a panel lawyer at IQI Global. So, and he handles all the complaints from everybody. He's also holds the position of registered AMLA compliance officer. So he's got good experience. He understands real estate. And Janan, we are happy to have you with us. We're going to have around 30 to 40 minutes. Let's try to dwell into the matter and help our agents, who are facing so much of problems with tenants. And I think that even owners of properties, they just don't know how to handle. So let's tackle this matter. But before we go into that question, everybody in the market is always concerned about this, and they always make comments. Very easy to make comment. Every agent is upset that tenancies are now is done by lawyers. Of course, they were doing that before illegally, and then so now you are here in IQA, you are handling all the tenancies, right?
Yes.
And so, what is your experience before they used to do? Now you're doing. What is the difference between the two situations?
I think first and foremost is about the legal precision, whether the agreement actually reflected what the clients agreed, between the landlord and the tenants. And previously, from what I have seen, some of the draft prepared by the agent themselves, we actually seen quite many of the clauses is repetitive because they just copy out from Google, right? Nowadays, copy from A, B, and C, and then they just merge it together. So it often becomes a problem. And currently, because right now the lawyers are the one preparing and drafting it, right? So it's all about customizations, whether the draft suits this client's need or not, because it is not just like a standard template which can be used in every situation. Yeah.
Mm. So yeah, I'm aware of this because what normally rents do is the office will have all the templates ready, and then they'll just go and pick one, and they normally do not even read what's inside, and then they'll get it signed. So basically, what is happening now is the fact that you all will know what the clients want. You make sure that the tenancy agreement is in relation to those requirements, so
Yes.
that we do not get into a legal entanglement in the future.
Yes. I think following the new directive from the LPPS as well, we also received from the Bar Council, about the drafting and preparation of tenancy. I think it's generally a very good thing for the clients outside, because now that the agreement becomes clearer, in terms of the legal precisions and all these customizations,
Mm.
when there is any dispute, it makes the issues actually easier to solve as compared to when everything is so ambiguous. There's so much uncertainties, and it takes such a long time to go through the court trials, all these things. Yeah.
So, I mean, having been here for quite some time and listening to all the complaints, are there significant number of complaints that comes to you on this tenancy matter, or especially when it comes to the tenancies?
I would say that because I was here for quite some time before the implementation and after,
Okay.
I would say before this, there's actually a number, quite a numbers of complaints in relation to tenancy, because what we quite often see is the issue of premature terminations, where the tenants they intends to terminate the tenancy earlier
Mm.
than what they have agreed. Um, Basically, because most of the time the clauses are too broad, or is there's too much uncertainty, or some draft don't even have the termination clause, which becomes the problem whether to
Mm.
forfeit the deposit or
Mm.
not,
Mm.
on the refund side. Yeah. And I can say after the implementations, or after we start to prepare the draft, actually the issues have been slow. We don't receive that much complaint as before. Yeah, it's a good sign, I would
Okay.
say.
I need to add to what he has said. Having been in the profession for now 38 years, those days when we do the tenancy, we normally don't even read what are the clauses, and sometimes don't even understand. Like example, there's a clause on essence of time. People don't even understand what is essence of time, and so we think we know everything, and we tend to do it. Uh, p- Probably because there's a little bit of administrative charges involved, and we can make a little bit of money out of it. So I think it's very important to understand that as professionals, we should not do that. Let them do the tenancy agreement. Let us do the sales, and so end of the day, the flow is good. All the legal requirements are met, so that we do not face any problem in time to come. The Residential Tenancy Act, which I'm going to throw this question to him afterwards, is going to come into place, and he just can't mess around with all this. So I think what's happening now is good for the profession. So make sure that tenancies are given to lawyers to be done. If you have an in-house lawyer, much better. Okay. Okay. Let's move on. Subject matter. Who is a bad tenant?
I would say bad tenant is those tenants who have failed to make payment on time, which is the most important thing, right? And also those that damage the property, which is beyond the normal what we call as a fair wear and tear.
Mm.
Yeah. And the third is those who purposely breach the term of the agreement, because sometimes we do have certain other terms other than payments, then to take care of the house, sometimes such as subletting the house. Sometimes they might just rent a room or rent the unit out without,
Sublet.
yeah, without letting the landlord knows. They just secretly do it. Yeah, this is sometimes what we call as a bad tenant.
But okay, I repeat that. Number one, who do not make promptly the payments.
Yeah.
Number two is those who breach the terms. And number three, those who go and do serious damage to the property
Yeah.
that goes far beyond the deposits that are collected. So these are the three main categories of people who will be
Yeah.
defined as bad tenant. Okay. So then I wanted to ask you to share this, because you have been dealing with you are the ones who deal with all these difficulties, right? Bad tenants. Um, what is the telltale sign of bad tenant? When do you know, as a negotiator, when do you know that this guy is going to become a bad tenant? Because when you're negotiating with you, they all sound good, very nice, but later only you realize when does the telltale sign come in?
I think first, as an agent, when you are doing due diligence onto the clients, when they come to you, right? This is a basic thing. You can quite often notice from there, because quite common is that you will see that this tenant is complaining about the previous landlords
Mm.
or the previous agents.
Oh, complaining. Okay, all right,
Yes,
okay.
yes, this is very common. And the second thing is, um, when you see that they can't show that they are financially stable. You see, when they ask for their source of income, their occupation, they are quite reluctant to tell you. This is sometimes is a tell sign, because you wouldn't know whether they are able to make payment on time or not.
Mm,
In that
mm,
sense,
mm.
yeah, I would say these two is the most crucial part, because 99% I can say, when they don't have a stable income, they can't tell you what occupation they are in, or they just tell you, I'm jobless. In this kind of sense, eventually, or sometimes it's habitually, they will become a bad tenant. Yeah.
So there are this group of people who are habitually they're bad tenants now. So once they're
Yeah.
bad tenant, remain as bad tenant.
It's a habit, because why we call it as habitually, because actually some of the tenants, they do have the money, but they just refuse to make payment on time. They just has this habit, right? Oh, why should I pay on time? It's just like delay a few days only. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's this kind of people. Yeah. And some who eventually become a bad tenant is because sometimes the economy is bad. Maybe they just suddenly lose their
Job.
job,
Okay.
or because of investment, then their cash flow is tight. There might be this kind of situation which eventually leads them to become a bad tenant. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've always wanted to understand this in a deeper sense. As an agent, we do tenancies, and then we want to continue providing that service to that particular client in the years ahead. Because once the landlord likes you, you can continue doing this, and then at the end of that extension period, you can go into the renew, make your 50% of the fees, or so on and so forth. As an agent, after doing a tenancy agreement, what should be your role? You're a professional as a lawyer. I'm talking about a professional. What should be the role of an agent in ensuring that the tenants are behaving themselves, or they can continue doing what they're supposed to do, to the thing? What do you think the agent should do?
I think one thing that the agent can do, one of the things that the agent can do is to remind them of their commitment when they sign the tenancy agreement, what is being agreed inside. For example, you can remind them that they are supposed to pay the rent on which day, you know, um, and then can bring them go through the termination clause again, let them know that in case anything happens, that if you wish to terminate, what will happen. And also you can just let them know that about the security deposit and utilities deposit, which is clearly written in the tenancy agreement. So can point out to them, just let them know that in what kind of cases, there might be a forfeiture of security deposits or the utilities deposit, which is why they have to make payment on time, pay off the bill on time. Yeah, this is one of the things that they can remind the tenant, remind their clients. And second thing is always about open communications. Sometimes you have the tenants
Mm.
um, feedback, when they move into the units. So sometimes they will tell you, oh, I realize this aircon is leaking, or something is not right with the plumbing. So agents' duty sometimes they have to convey this message. Their duty is to convey this message to the landlords, so that the landlords knows, repair is needed, repair is required. What we often see is that when the tenant feedback to the agents maybe they are too busy, they just somehow they overlook the issue and then did not inform the
Mm,
landlord.
mm.
Yeah, which can become a very big
Big
issue.
issue later.
Yeah.
They'll put the complaint on the owner, not interested to do all
Yes.
this. So he turns to become a difficult tenant, not a bad tenant, a
Yes.
difficult
And
tenant.
they refuse to pay the rent on time because they say the landlord, didn't do anything to fix all the all the defects that has been happening around. Yeah, we do have this kind of situation, which is why open communications
Mm.
is very important. Yeah.
I like the point you made that you must, even though you have completed the tenancy, you must have open communication. I used to say this, that at least every once in 3 months, go to the house. I say, go and look at the house, see whether it's in good condition, check whether the payments are being made on time, and then you continue the relationship, and so it helps you in the long run. Okay, so it's important for us to continue communicating. So let's now move on to the next question. What are the initial steps that we need to take when a tenant does not pay the rental before the issue becomes serious? The initial step, that they're not paying rental on time. What are the initial steps an agent should take, or even a landlord should take?
I think the first thing that the landlord or the agent can do is always ask the tenant. Sometimes you have to remind the tenants, because if it's just a one-off situations,
Mm,
I believe sometimes we all might be too busy with our works, or that sometimes we forget to pay. It's not like a habitual thing, if
mm,
it's just a one-off situation. So we can't say that there's no possibility on this, which is why I would say the first step is the agent or the landlord can take the initiative to remind the tenant, by just asking, hey, it's already, now it's on the already 5th of the month, it's time to make payment. You can try to ask them. I will always say that the legal action is always the last resort. So the communication is very important. You have to ask first, remind them. Yeah. And I would say that if they are not the so-called habitual bad payer, they will make the payment eventually. Or you will also get to know whether they are facing any financial difficulty, which is why it's always ask first. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say now this is a bad tenant. He has not made, he has not done the rental payment, let's say 3 months. Let's say 3 months. Where do you start the process towards evicting him? How do you start? What do you need to do? Maybe we can go through the process.
I would say, first of all, please don't wait until the default is 3 months long. Okay. I would say normally if you know that they already have a 1 month outstanding, then it will be the right time for the landlord to actually issue a notice, to send them a notice, return notice.
A return notice.
Yes.
Okay.
Either through WhatsApp nowadays, WeChat, Telegram, as long as it's in written form, so that later on you can prove in court, right? Send them a written notice, telling them that please pay within how many days. Let's say, for example, 7 or 14 days. Yeah, give them a time period first. Send them a notice saying that please remedy this situation, clear all the outstanding within 14 days. If not, I'm going to terminate this agreement and I will forfeit all your deposits. Yeah, you can send this kind of notice to them as an official notice. Yeah, and thereafter, let's say, because it's a bad tenant, right? So they don't care about these 14 days and they don't pay. Okay, the next thing you can do is up to the landlords. You can choose to take it to the court, because for tenancy, right? At the moment, we do not have a specific law governs it, right? Yeah. So the act is, you need to just dig around where is the act, which is the right act to do. So for eviction order, actually, you can get it under the Specific Relief Act.
Specific Relief Act. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Under Specific Relief Act, under Section 7, Sub 2, if not mistaken. So basically, if you need to evict a tenant, you will need to get the court order. So the most, actually, in fact, I just did one just last year, not too long ago, during December. We did one under Section 7, Sub 2. Okay. So basically, we help the landlords apply to court, to get the order for possessions.
Okay.
So after we get the order, right, we actually, together with the court bailiff, okay, in plain meanings, you can understand it as an officer from the court.
The court bailiff is an officer, okay, from
together
the court.
with them.
Police.
So we, together with them, of course, the police, we need some witness as well, right, to ensure that nothing happens, to also protect our safety. So we go together to the house and then just, yeah.
So what happens? What happens when you go with the bailiff and the policeman to the house and then he refuses not to open the door?
That is why we go with the law enforcement officers.
Okay.
Because they will take the necessary actions. I will say that please don't take things into your own hand. Okay, because only the court bailiff and the police officers, they have the rights to take any actions.
Don't become a policeman.
Yeah, or reasonable force. It's not. Sometimes we do have landlords that likes to take things into their own hands. They will go and act like something, act like gangsters. Trying to force them out. Yeah, I would say this is illegal. Please don't do that. Because under the law, or as a very reasonable person, for your safety as well, please do not do that, because we do face some very hostile tenants that they will throw things at you.
Okay. So I mean, it's very interesting to hear this. We know for a fact that the tenants have got greater respect by the law to allow them to stay there. Only in the worst of situation, they will be evicted. So knowing that, how long does this process of eviction How fast can the process of eviction take place?
Actually, I would say it depends. You know why? Because when we bring this kind of when we bring this matter to court, right? So basically, in the event that the tenant also appointed another lawyer to go and fight in this case, it might take 5 to 7 months or even longer to settle the whole issue. And in the event that there's no lawyers appointed by the tenant sides, it's just like an ex parte, means our one-sided application. I will say between 3 to 5 months, you can settle the whole thing. Yeah.
So as you said earlier, the point for us to remember is that you don't wait until 6, 7, 8, 9 months you didn't pay, then you got another 5, 6, 7 months. You immediately within a month or two, you immediately, if you know that they're going to become a bad tenant or they are a bad tenant, then immediately you take action as fast as possible. How much would it cost to do this?
I would say there's no standard market rates. Okay. Generally it ranges from 5 to 10K, 5 to 10K, depending on what you do. Okay. So just now I just mentioned about eviction order. Sometimes they also apply for the what we call as a writ of distress. That is for them to claim unpaid rent, which is up to 12 months. Okay, so it depends on how many actions you actually taken.
What do you call that again? Writ of distress.
Yes, that is under Distress Act. Yeah, this is another act, you see, because we do not have specific act governing the tenancy, or you know. So under the Distress Act, Section 5, basically you can bring to the court and then apply the writ of distress. This is basically for you to claim unpaid rent, which is up to 12 months, where if if you successfully gotten it, basically also the same together with the court bailiff. Okay, they will go to the house, seize the assets. Okay, seize the assets of the tenants.
That's in, let's say if that house belongs to you, the assets in the house itself.
Pardon?
The assets in your house, well, they are assets in the house.
They are assets.
Okay.
So they will seize the tenant's assets and then sell it to recover your loss, to recover the unpaid rent.
Can we go and these are things which we have known that has happened. You break into the house when the tenant is not in the house. You break the door open and then. Can you do that, or what are the implications of doing these things?
I would say sometimes there is this misconception that some landlord might think that I own the house, so I have the right to access it. Okay, I can just go in and then take whatever things that I like. The landlord actually risks being sued. They expose themselves being sued, to sued by the tenants. We do have one case in Sarawak. Okay, so this case is a bit different, but I would say the concept is the same. So basically, the landlord, because of this bad tenant, they never pay, right? So the landlord decided to take things in the hand. They go and cut off the electricity and water supply, change the lock, block the access, and then they actually received the letter of demand from the tenant's lawyer, and then sue them for about 40K, 40,000. Yeah, just by doing that. It's the same because if you really follow our act, the Specific Relief Act, if you want to evict them, you can only go through court order. Anything, any actions like cut off the electricity supply, water supply, blocking access, you go in, it's actually wrong, even though you are the rightful owner of the house.
So if he puts a claim that I had $1 million, I had a Rolex watch and it went missing, he makes a police report, the landlord is going to be in trouble.
Yes, I would say that if today you are facing a brilliant bad tenant, the bad tenant who has gotten some knowledge in law, you might expose yourself to a lawsuit.
The subject matter of cutting electricity and cutting water, can you give a little bit more depth to this? Because, everybody thinks it's the easiest thing to do is go and cut water. You cut the water, the fellow got no water. you cut electricity, he doesn't have electricity, and can that be so easily done?
To be honest, it is not that difficult to do it because sometimes the landlords, okay, um, you see, if the electricity account and the water supply account is registered under the landlord's name,
Yeah.
okay, they can actually just call or just walk in counter, to just tell them, okay, please cut off. I'm instructing you to cut off, you know, to close my account. They can do that. They can do that. And sometimes, if they choose not to pay for the electricity bill or the water bills, when it reaches certain sum, right? Because the landlord, sometimes they are very creative, right? They say, since the tenant is not paying our rental, then I also stop paying the electricity bill and the water bill. And wait until there's a lot of outstanding, they will just call to the let's say TMB, or Shabazz. They just ask them, please cut off. Yeah, and quite surprisingly, most of the time they succeed in doing so. Yeah, which landed them in trouble later on. Yeah.
So that's a human factor, lah. You cut off electricity,
Yes.
water. It's really going to give a lot of issues to them. For them to have a livelihood, to live peacefully in the premise, which is one of the clause that is always in the tenancy agreement, that
Yeah.
the landlord must allow them to live there peacefully, without any disturbance. So you cannot and should not be cutting off electricity whatsoever, lah. The other question that I want to ask is, the deposits that they collect, utility deposits and security deposits, these are deposits towards repairs to be done when there's a damage. Can those deposits be offset for unpaid tenant rental?
Well, in general terms, if you look at the tenancy agreement, there is actually one clause that specifically mentions that all the deposits are not supposed to be used to offset anything. Yeah, they are not supposed to be used to offset any rental sum, because deposit is supposed to cover if there's anything happen right after the tenancy ends. Yeah, so if it has been used to offset the rental, let's say after the tenancy ends, okay, when the landlord goes into the house and realize the whole house is damaged, you know, let's say there's a TV, the TV is now just disappear, or the refrigerator is just broken, or the aircon is broken. Who is going to bear this cost? It's supposedly, if it is damaged by the tenant, they could use the security deposits to cover it. Yeah. So in that kind of situation, they will risk, having nothing, and then there's no way to compensate, because some landlord, they will think that if I were to go to court to pursue this, it will take, I will have to incur more time and more money, right? So they will choose not to do that. In that kind of sense, have they will have suffered losses. Yeah.
Um, um, but in the tenancy agreement, would it be advisable that that if you were to add the clause that in the event you don't pay, they also have the right to forfeit the deposits, yeah, in contrast to the rental that they owe? Would that help?
Um, this will actually subject to the agreement, to the mutual agreement of the clients, because sometimes before the signing of tenancy agreement, some tenants, when they look at this clause, they will feel uncomfortable, right? They will feel uncomfortable. We do have some clients asking, oh, why when I terminate, my security deposit will be forfeited? Or some landlord will ask, why when I'm the one who choose to break the agreement, who choose to terminate the tenant, when they are paying well, everything is good, I have to compensate them. You see, if we include this kind of clauses inside, sometimes clients would have concerns. You see,
They don't want to do the tenancy.
yes.
Yeah,
They will
okay.
say, "Oh, just use back whatever I found on Google, because there's no such clause." You know, uh, everything looks easy, very simple. Yeah. That's what happened nowadays.
What are the legal issues generally? Because tenancy agreements are done by the tenant, right? Most of the time, and then the landlord will just sign it blindly without him referring. Most of them they won't refer back.
Yeah.
Is this a good practice, or do you think it's advisable, sizable tenancies that the both sides of the lawyers go through it, or even normal tenancies, two sides of the lawyers without having to think about the extra money they have to pay? You think that's a good thing to do?
If let's say there's no money factor, no cost, it is always advisable, for the clients to have to go through a tenancy agreement by themselves, or to get their lawyers to go through to vet through the agreement for them in order to protect their own interests. Because what the tenants lawyer draft might not be in favor of the landlords, right?
Yeah,
Because
always.
together, I mean, today if I am appointed by you, my duty is to act for your best interest, right? So it's obvious, right? If you are the tenant, then I will draft it in favor of you instead of the landlord. That is why it's very important also for landlord to have his own lawyer to go through the agreement to make sure everything is kind of like fair to each other. Yeah.
Mm, mm. I've got this concern. We've got so many real estate firms all over the country. Each one of them have got their own calculation for administrative costs. You know what administrative cost is, and I come to understand that um, they go far beyond the charges that is stipulated by the firm. So they said, okay, just collect 300 for administrative charges. They tend to go and collect more. Is this ethical? Is this? Can you just give me some views on this? You having worked with agents and firms, what do you think about this particular act they're doing?
I would say, okay, so of course for tenancy, right? Normally, legal firm they will have a charge, and right now, if we follow the SRO 2023, which is the latest order for the lawyers who doing conveyancing work, we would know that the minimum charges for a tenancy is like 500 ringgit, and this not yet include all the stamp duty and disbursement, right? So we do know that some agents they are collecting it far beyond the amount that even a lawyer can charge. We have actually
Wale.
encountered this, right? We actually encountered this like for that time. I think the rental is only 1,800. We received one complaint. The rental is 1,800, and the agent involved collected like 980 ringgit, 980 ringgit as his disbursement. So if we really look into the Act 242, which governs all the uh, real estate agents, including the real estate negotiators, there isn't a very clear guideline, I would say, because they only says that any disbursement that you are going to charge, you need the agreement from the client.
Yeah,
Means
yeah,
you need
right.
them to say, okay, I agree to it.
Seven schedule lah.
Yes.
Mm.
So when there is no clear um, direction, I would say our agents nowadays in this market they are very creative. As the market inflation is constantly going up, right? So they are also charging the disbursement higher and higher.
Which actually should not be the case. As
Yes.
professionals, you earn your fees by doing the tenancy or the sale. You cannot go and try to make some extra money
Yeah.
because this is how you want to fight inflation. So
Right.
I think the attitude of professionalism comes in.
Because sometimes we do understand when they saying that they charge like, for example, 1 to 300, they say it's because of their transportation. They bring the tenant for the house viewing so many times, 3 to 4 times. Sometimes they do help them to clean the house as well, which is actually out of their job scope, right, as an agent, but they're doing it. So they say, I charge this sum, just to cover up my time and my energy, for this deal. We are, it is understandable, sometimes 100 to 200 to 300.
Reasonable.
Yes, it's reasonable, but when you charge more than 1,000, then something is wrong, you know. Yeah,
It becomes bigger than a lawyer.
yes.
So just now you mentioned about SRO, lah. That is the Solicitors Remuneration Order, right?
Yes.
This is the latest one that has come out where
Yep.
the big hoo-ha about why lawyers can do real estate sales and all that stuff. I don't want to go there, but we leave that to another day. I want to ask you two more questions before we end. What happens if your repairs to the house is lot more than the deposits that we have collected?
So I think first of all, you will need to look at the sum that you wanted to recover back.
Mm.
So in Malaysia, if today the sum is below 5,000,
Mm.
you can actually just go to the small claims court. Okay.
Small claims court if it is
Yes.
less than
5,000.
5,000. Okay.
Yeah. So less than
Total
5,000.
cumulative.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So total, if you are, let's say today, your repair cost is, let's say 8,000,
Mm.
but because there's deposit, right? After deduct, it's just 3,000.
Mm.
So you can actually just go to the small claims court where you can sue the tenant by yourself. You don't need a lawyer, and to file the application, I think right now it's just 20 ringgit. You can
20 ringgit to file application. You don't need a lawyer.
Yes.
And then how fast can you do this?
It will be it will be the same. So basically, the magistrate court, the small claims court there, they will fix the time for you to attend the court.
I heard it's
Yeah.
very fast.
Quite fast nowadays.
Okay.
I will say quite fast nowadays.
And the decision also very fast.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. Please educate your clients that in the event if your claim is, let's say, not more than 5,000, you can go to the small claims court. You don't need a lawyer. You go yourself, file yourself, 20 ringgit, and then present your case. You want witness, you can bring your negotiators to be a witness.
You can.
Can I?
You can.
Okay. All right. So these are some of the things that we can do. Now I got one last question before we end. We have heard about the Residential Tenancy Act. I know we can't talk a lot about it,
Yeah.
but I think we know about what is going to be. Please, and it's being discussed now that they're going to bring it up in the Parliament and pass it. What would happen once the Residential Tenancy Act comes into force? What effects it has on agents?
What effect it will have onto agent? If you ask me, not really that much of an effect onto agent itself, but it's more onto the tenants and the landlords nowadays. Because as I said just now, there's no specific law governing on tenancy on this landlord and tenant issue. We have to get the acts, act by act, looking at the sections, different sections, in order, to find what is the remedy. So with the Residential Tenancy Act, if they come into effect, there are actually four things that they focus on. And the first thing is that they are going to set a tribunal to
Okay.
govern the issues between the landlord and the tenants. Because right now, when we have issues, like I say, we can only go to the small claims court. Sometimes they will ask you to go to TTPM, go to the Consumer Tribunal Court. So if today we have a tribunal court just for tenant and landlords, at least the public will be also clear, where can I take this matter to? Where can I really bring this issue to?
This is just like that housing tribunal.
Yes,
Okay,
just like
alright.
the HDA.
Okay.
You see, and then of course they are also coming out with a template tenancy. It's just like a HDA where they have it in the Schedule H and Schedule G, the standard SPA
Okay.
for those who purchase projects, Yeah. So they will have come out with the template agreement. At least we can see that is that if they have certain clauses which is already fixed there, for that protects both the landlords and tenants' interests, that would be very useful, you see. Because if you really follow the law, you can only create something better than that draft. Something that is below the standard of the draft, cannot be used, just like the HDA version. Yeah. And then of course, they are talking about rent control. in this part, it is actually not so welcome by all the stakeholders in the market
I'm sure.
because we are now in a very free market, right? Everyone is free to nego the price, to set the price for his house. So I don't think all the stakeholders will welcome that changes. And I believe also, of course, our parliament, the government, they will also be careful when it comes to these parts. Yeah. And the last part will be the eviction process. From what I heard, they are going to streamline the process for everyone when there's issue on the eviction. So maybe after this, it will be more effective and not so costly.
Mm.
Yeah, in terms for landlord. Yeah,
I think it will be a fantastic move. The last time when it was presented,
yeah,
there was so much of hue and cry who's holding the hold the deposit,
yeah,
to the point that the government was shaken up and they said, okay, let's leave it first. So now they're going to be. I'm sure this time around they are going to pass it. I had an opportunity to read the first one, and one of the things that we have requested at that time to the government was, please include the tenancy that estate agents are the ones that are supposed to do the tenancy. I hope they will take note of that, because if not, again, illegal agents will be doing all this and a lot of nonsense can happen. I think it's going to be a fantastic move,
yes,
and I think agents will have to play a more responsible role. You cannot be simply saying things, because everything is now you have to follow the Residential Tenancy Act. Okay,
yeah,
so that's going to be a good move for the profession, for the industry. Yes, that's all the time we have. So I'm sure yes, it looked all very simple the way he answered it, but sometimes it will take longer. Sometimes it's complicated, but whatever it is, I like that idea that as agents, we should be communicating both with the landlord and the tenants so that they are clear, and we try to avoid them becoming bad tenants. Most of the time, they already become bad tenant, then we're trying to go and retrieve it. So I hope this helps all of us to understand how to manage bad tenants and how to manage tenancies. So with that, Jay, thank you very much, Jen,
thank you.
for the time that you have with us. Hopefully, one of these days we will sit down and talk about uh, more complex issues about the profession. Okay, thank you
Anytime,
very
yeah.
much. Thank
Thanks
you
for
very
having
much.
me.
So very quickly now, can I quickly remind that that we are waiting for comments. I know a lot of you talk about it when you see me, but we are waiting for comments. Write in and tell us whether you like it, whether you find this interesting, what are the topics that we can handle. So then we can look for speakers who can handle the subject matter. Example, a few months ago, we did the Duta Enclave. We did the private lease scheme, because this was all requested. So if you got any particular topic, suggest to us, and then we want to hear from you, good or bad, send to us so we can do it. I think you got my email address, soma at iqiglobal.com, and then I'll communicate with you on that matter. If you want to look at the past recordings, it's on YouTube. Please go, and the link is Real Estate School with Soma. It's all there. Or if you want the link to all that, please send me an email. I will send the link to you. You can see all the video, all the video. Or of course, you can scan. The problem is by the time they scan, the show is over already. So you can do that, or you send us the request, we will send to you. Okay. Okay. So as you know, the show is on the last Friday of the month. Uh, Next month we will have either a talk on how the digitalization of the real estate work we do, social media and all those stuff is affecting us. Technology is affecting us. Either that, or we were talking about doing big deals. So we have not confirmed that yet. So I will keep you posted. So with that, I want to thank you very much. I want to thank the team for putting up the show. Until I see you in the next scoop, number 9. I want to thank all of you, and Jen, thank you very
Thank
much
you as
for
well.
coming, and to everybody, have a good weekend. And 2 months have passed. You're already going to enter the third quarter. Go out there and fulfill your dreams. One last note. If you have read the report, last year was the best year in the history of real estate sales. We did more than 200, nearly $248 billion worth of transaction. So go and look for the report at NAPIC, at the NAPIC, NAPIC. You'll be able to get all the full. Thank you very much. Bye.